Today's session, we for 16 participants have been joined till time. I'm expecting more number of students to be joined. Technical reasons, reading problem is something. So as we are discussing the content and global infrastructure point, and the cloud is providing global infrastructure as has been divided into 4 parameters, such when say as an availability zones and regions and edge locations, and as well as regional edge caches. This we had discussed in the earlier class. The availability zones, as we also call it as a data center, an availability zone is as a location that maybe a metropolitan or a rural area. You're able to place a number of servers and switches and load balancing tools, which might be hardware and software related, and firewalls, which might be in the software and hardware point of view. And inside of this facility or a data center, the data centers house the objects that interfaces with the cloud. In that, the data centers can communicate with the cloud, provide such web services. The multiple data centers can make up an availability zone, but if they are close to one another, they are counted as a single availability zone. So the availability zones we have known that the metropolitan cities and the rural areas they make place, which might be we'll say it as local servers, which might insists the number of servers and switches and the load balancing tools. These are the physical facilities which are which available or which assess to fulfill for the service managing of the servers. And in this particular construct, what mean by region? Region is a place in the world where there are 2 more availability zones inside in each region. So, and as well as the region is nothing but a group of data centers that are totally cut off from one to another. Mean that more than one location the data will be stored. While retrieving, it might be useful for the data retrieving sense. So there, in this particular constants, the redundant data might have scope, so that so to avoiding of the redundancy, will maintain redundant data sets. And region is made up of more than 2 availability zones that are linked to one another. And we had discussed the edge location, the endpoints for the AWS utilized for content catching or called as an edge location. So there that means that it is similarly as the parallel servers. So while the users or the consumers are ready to consume that. While the users or the customers are ready to consume this consume the web service, so that meantime that the end users might communicate with the web server. So that we'll call it as an endpoint for the ability utilized for content catching, or called as an edge location from where that particular web service is serving. The Amazon's content delivery network, cloud front, and makes up an edge location, which will say it as content delivery network, CDN. That means that where that particular the service is enhancing and the service is providing such. And the edge locations go beyond the geographic region. There are currently more than 150 edge sites for the Amazon point, Amazon Web Services point. Amazon Web Services has a small location called an edge location, which is not a region that is employed for the content catching. And the majority of the big cities are home to the edge locations. Each and every edge location might be communicating with the regional servers. Right? We'll say it as regions, which are used to distribute, content to the end users with minimal latency. And the redundancy, obviously, the redundancy might be avoided with storage assessments itself. If a visitor visits to your website or a web server from Singapore for an instance, the request will be routed to the edge location that is closest to the Singapore, so that the cache data may be accessed from the edge location. And the regional edge caches. The regional edge caches are used for providing more faster assessments, and as well as that will also call it as an efficiency accessing of web service. And here the efficiency as well as is needed. Between the CloudFront origin, the servers and the edge sites is a regional edge caches. The cache size of a regional edge cache is larger than the single edge site, because obviously the number of edges might communicate with one to another while communicating with the regional edge cache. That we'll call it as a regional server. While the data is kept at the regional edge cache, that is removed from the cache at the edge location. While the transaction completes, then automatically the edge location is denying of a particular threat assessment. And AWS outposts, the customers can construct and deploy AWS storage capacity at customer sites using fully managed solutions known as AWS outposts. That will also call it as, in simple sense, in the regular terminology, what we'll say it as their own web service, right? What they are offering, that we'll say it as the fully loaded, fully managed solutions that known as the outposts. A hybrid delivery experience is made possible by outposts, and the customer can access quite easy way to access, which expands AWS infrastructure and service and tools and API to the customer location. Then the customer can feel such as the entire web service is providing servicing for his only. Such virtual assessments this might provide by using the APIs. And AWS outpost can be established nearly any area that customer provides, including facilities for co-locations, on-site service for the customers. See, in the meanwhile, what we'll say it as an API designing, and the API designing, which involves and this the sequence of specifications and where then which service can match. How big the AWS cloud is, how extent that we have aware that we are learning for the elastic service in by respect to the AWS. How extent it can have scope of stretch. That means that how extent we can have scope of bare loading capacities. AWS is spread over 81 availability zones, which is 25 different global geographic areas, and 21 additional availability zones, and 7 additional regions in Europe, Asia, and Australia are the part of announced plans. But in Asia, for our perspective, while doing our laboratory, we'll choose Asian as our zone, that which resides in the Mumbai and Kolkata and Mumbai regions. And there are presently 8 AWS zones for applications that requires very low latency. And the 9 more local zones are available based on respect to the implementation of their infrastructure. And how to select and how the components of the AWS global infrastructure. But while deploying our own web service, then we might select the components of extent our web service, what our expectations are. That means that the client expect what based on the client expectations and based on the clients what type of service the client is going to provide, and which region that particular which region of customers may trying to absorb that particular service or may trying to attempt that particular service to get into. So all these matters while selecting the components of AWS global infrastructure. The organizations may have to make a trade-off when deciding which global cloud infrastructure is to use, depending on number of criteria such as latency and the proximity. One important aspect that affect the latency and the network performance, the cloud service, is the distance between the cloud deployment. Mean that where in which region or which zone we are adopting. And it is also as well as what the previous discussion, whatever we said, the end users point also in what type of service we are going to deploy and which is desired, which categorizing of the people are going to use or consume our web service. It is also in order to meet the customer demands for ultra low latency workloads, you might need the provision of local zones. So we have to adopt the local zone. We selecting local zone that obviously which assess the efficient service providing of our web service. Right. For example, for our prospects will choose Asia as the local zone for. And setting up an AWS wavelength zone may be the only option for 5G access. This is the newly adopting technology. So this wavelength selection is also reflect on the bandwidth assessments. While getting of more bandwidth, uh, obviously the more accurate data service while getting of um, launching by accessing 5G technologies. But that obviously it reflects on the pricing assessments, the financial assessments too. That maps with that because because high bandwidth they are providing based on the efficient accessing of resources and the region adherence of the security point. How regulations the regulations in the sense of it depends on the local prospects, right? In which in where in the Asian might have different regional regulations, and Europe might have differ, and etc. So this security regions also differs from one region to another region. So adherence to regulations, sensitive issues, and end users' data, and may need to be treated in accordance with a certain industry and the legal standards, such as general data protection, protection regulations, general data protection regulations, which we'll also call it as GDPR of the EU and the state. This is for European countries and depends on the state and provision and the municipal locations, data handling laws, etc. Which depends on the regulations. It might vary from location to region to region. The security standards, the cloud computing makes it simple for the business to move, store, and process information in data centers located far away, which may be viewed as violation of compliance norms, and the results in inexpensive lawsuits and harms to the reputation on the brand. That while selecting the data center location is also impacting on our branding, because if there might be cheaper than Asian zone assessments, then if we can adopt that in European assessments, then the price varies but the latency might increases. Obviously, the bandwidth may be very less comparatively. So obviously, no, the web service can loading and unloading assessments might take uh, might take high time. Time time complexity might increases. Obviously, the brand name and the reputation might affects. So what we expect is while selecting the security standards and the cloud and the regions also might impact while selecting the security standards. These are interrelated with this. And to guarantee high availability and security requirements of the sensitive business information and IT-enabled services. And few of the IT-enabled service organizations may also be required to deploy workload over numerous geographical dispersed cloud data centers. So that means that the service provider's point, the service can BPO sector, the service in the instance of time, service have been implementation have been occurred. In the instance of movement, the service has been deployment is needed. So such cases, if the availability zone is in nearby location, then the edge point can assess to regional service, and then it assess the service. So obviously, the several legal level of agreements we have, service agreements levels we have. So that also impact on differ from the location to location. So AWS offers a variety of service legal agreements that includes service uptime, and credits and service failure in order to satisfy the desired standards of IT service availability at the FMS point. The green factor with respect to Amazon Web Services, many firms are working hard to embrace environmentally friendly business practices and become carbon neutral. And Amazon is exception by funding numerous renewable energy and the data centers initiatives. AWS seeks, operates, and a net carbon neutral global infrastructure using renewable energy. And what is AWS CloudFront? The CloudFront is widely dispersed network provided by Amazon Web Service that satisfies and quickly distributes the content to clients such as softwares, SDKs, videos, etc. So huge amount of data. That means that a large amount of data have been transmits on the real world regular needs. So while fulfilling of such tasks, right, they have adopted as a technology called as CloudFront. So this CloudFront is widely used for the network provided as Amazon Web Services that safely and quickly distribution of content to the clients, such as softwares, SDKs, and videos, etc. That the logo of CloudFront is different, but this particular service is offering by Amazon. What are the benefits of AWS CloudFront? So your content will be cached in the edge locations, which will reduce the burden and increase the application availability. Obviously, the web service can provide it is quite faster than the previous assessments. So the edge location consisting of our data, then based on that, the cached edge location is fulfills the task of the customers prospects with respect to the web service. It is easy to use and generate increased productivity, and it permits geographical assessments, targeting service for content distribution to the particular end users, and offers high security with the content privacy functions. That means that obviously it incorporate with the security assessments. So that means that access assessments, access restrictions, and the access specifiers, right? It incorporated with that particular CloudFront application itself, and it utilities, obviously HTTP or HTTPS protocols for rapid content delivery, hypertext transfer protocol and hypertext transfer protocol with secure. And because it only charges for the data transport, it is less expensive. If our web service is only for example, if we are doing courier assessments, that means that the data has been transmitted from one location to another location, such as the courier assessments, then this particular service is quite useful for such services. Right, and obviously, which is less cost expensive. That means that our data can pass from location to another, one location to another. That means that it obviously assessing what assessing is the infrastructural sharing. And the AWS CloudFront, how does it operate? Right, it operates in different steps. So we'll discuss in stepwise notation. The first step, the client accesses the website and requests to download a file like the below image. And the step two, what the service we are going to provide now, the domain network service. Right, whatever the domain name we have assessed, that domain network service router, the client requests to the nearest edge location through the CloudFront to the server and to serve the requests to the users. Right here, the CloudFront is providing communicating with the nearest edge server, and then based on the edge server, it is serving faster communication. And the third step, what it was happening at the edge location, the CloudFront looks for its requested, whatever it is request is generated, and cache file. Then, once the file is found, then the CloudFront sends the file to the user. That means that it is assessing the request and providing the desired service. And the next step, what it does, but if the file is not found, what happens? Then the CloudFront compares the requirements with the specifications and shares it with the nearest or respective server. That means that it is similar to if the edge location might not found that particular file, then the edge location might forward to the regional or the web server, which is a similar type of web server, and then they assess what the related web server, the related nearby related service provider specifications. And the next step, what we get is the web server responds to the request by sending the file back to the CloudFront edge location. So the web server is responding. Now the web server is responding to the edge location, and then the edge location is responding to the CloudFront service, and then the CloudFront service is responding and placing with the API, the application interface. As soon as the CloudFront receives the file, it shares with the client and adds the file to the edge location. Then the next assessments, the next time if anyone is searching, then the edge location, that particular service is available in the edge location itself. So that means that it reserves the file in CloudFront itself. So while assessing, then the second the next time, that means that it seems to be as a machine learning algorithm they have implemented in this particular edge location and the nearby web service. How to create a distributed network? for the cloud front. Can go through this lab. I'll share this PPT and go through the slide assessments, whatever the slide assessment has been mentioned. And then you have to create the network cloud front and then share a particular file. While the particular file available in the what are the region, what are the edge location you have created. If not, then the nearby, and then they use the search engine. What are the search engine you have mentioned in API, and then the nearby edge location, the nearby web server, they might assess, and then picking from the edge web server, and then the edge location reverted back to the API application interface the application. Stepwise notation I have mentioned. So go through it, go through this. I'll share this PPT. So go through these slides. I'll share these slides. We'll go through these slides. If any doubts or queries, then the next class we'll discuss. And I have given the attendance based on your joining. Obviously, we'll get the attendance. So you won't bother for that. In the meanwhile time, what I want to convey is I'll share the assignments already placed in LMS. Can go through. It might be update, might be LMS might be uploaded on Thursday or Friday. So it can conclude within 48 hours. I'll give the 48 hours of time. So we'll complete the ALMs and as well as your assignments. I'll share the assignments also in in the group as well as in LMS also. So you'll submit the hard copies, also soft copies. I'll share a Google link so you can make an attachments of the same. So as per norms, we have to maintain the proofs for accordingly to give the marks. And one more is for the skilling and the lab point. Right, I have already shared in your group, Telegram group. I think so. So that in skilling might have 20 questions. So you have to do at least 50% of that. In the 10 to 12 programs, you have to complete, and as well as the lab cycles point that I have meant in handbook they have mentioned as only for 10 programs. So you have to prepare those programs also while and you have to submit that also and the attachments while I'll share a Google Sheet link. So in meanwhile time you have to create a PDF file for the lab in different and the skilling in different. So these two files, while consisting of your roll number, name, and it might have your session details. So based on that, the weekly assessments, weekly exercises, weekly exercise marks you have. So while compiling of that, I need these data. So while you are not physical availability, so there is also that's what we are mapping it as a virtual sense. So I'll share one Google link, Google Doc link that you have to map as an attachment for the PDF file. So based on that, I'll go for evaluating of your ALMs as well as your weekly exercise and lab in I think so you have all the members have been written, excluding of roll number 27. So the similarity, your cooperation while concluding the successful completion of this particular course. So if any doubts in this particular regard, then on your mic and convey that. Based on that, we'll go for discussion and we'll conclude it. If not, then the Google link, the Google Doc share, I'll share. In that particular sharing itself consisting attachments for the Google for the PDF file, which is for the lab point, and then as well as your skilling exercise point. So two different observation books you have to maintain. Whether you will go for handwritten and then taking image, otherwise you can go through for the Word document and convert it to a PDF file. Otherwise, you can share it as Word document also. So if any details are required, then you can go through for your handout. In your ERP, the handout is available for the Cloud Web Services. So you go through the Cloud Web Services handout, and that handout might consist all the questionnaires for the practical and then skilling point. if anyone are having more time to spend, so they can implement for the case studies also. If time permit, then go for case study, implementing of case studies for Amazon and as well as Google Cloud, Google Cloud Web Services, and as well as Azure, whatever you might like. The case studies, if you can go through the case studies, then you'll be familiar for what type of services they are providing and how extent uh, we can use their services and familiar of such security assessments and as well as web services point. And you might have aware of the differences between these three different type of productions, because nowadays platform changes have been mapping, like the Google Cloud platform. More number of businesses are transmitting into Google platforms. They might using the fiber optic cables, so that might assist them more faster assessments, and as well as security assessments are also enhanced. So you can go through in detail of case studies, then you'll get a brief about the differences between Amazon and then Azure and then Google, etc. Anyone want to convey anything, then you can please on your mic and then or else you can send me a chat message also. Chat and mic is not on. The mic and chat is on. So you can, if you want to use it, then you can. If you want to convey anything or any point if you want to discuss, then you're welcome for that.
Sir,
Yes, ma'am.
sir, in skilling, how many rights, sir?
Almost 50% we have to complete. I think so. They have 220 programs, so it was 50 programs we have to complete.
Sir,
It might consist 20 programs. At most, you have to complete for the half of the syllabus. That means that it might you have to complete 10 programs at least.
okay, sir. Practical list or lab list?
Lab list also the same. Lab list you have to there. The lab list is only for 10 programs you have. So it
Yeah,
was
sir.
8 programs, 7 to 8 programs you have to complete.
Okay, sir.
If possible, then you can complete all the way.
In which day, sir, you have to submit?
So while it might take in between the Semin 2 exam, before the Semin 2 exam,
Okay, sir.
might be 15 more days, I think so.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you. Thank you for your patience, your listening, and I'm concluding this session for today's session. I'll Kiran sir may joins. A good day and all the best. I'm leaving from this session. Yeah, while Kiran sir joins, please be wait. While he might join in the meanwhile time. Okay. Thank you. Thank you and good day.
Hello.